So let's say that her name is Billy, okay? That's not her real name. Like, her name's Billy. So Billy has, which I just found out, has Parkinson's, which I didn't know. And the person is staring at me behind me. Alzheimer's and a UTI currently. She has all these three things. And if you don't know about Parkinson's, which I actually just recently found out too, you can have, what is it called? Like visions, like you see things that aren't there. I can't think of the name of it right now, but you see things that aren't there. And then with Alzheimer's, you forget about stuff, and it's like you're living in the past. And the UTI can make these issues or these medical conditions worse. So Billy has all three of these things. The nurse says that she just got off the UTI. She should be good of the UTI, which I don't think she is, but I'm not a nurse. So when I get there, between 7 and 10, she's chill. She's just her normal sweet self. We sit there and talk all night. We talk all night. We just talk. We watch TV. She's her normal self. And then 10 o'clock hits. And at 10 o'clock, she starts talking about her husband. Now, her husband passed away a year ago. But she doesn't remember this because of Alzheimer's. So she keeps telling me her husband's not home. She doesn't know where her husband is. He should be home. Why is he not home? And I go, sweetie, I'm pretty sure your husband passed away. And that was the worst thing that I could have said, because holy fuck. She goes crazy, which I understand, because if you were told that your husband died, you would freak the fuck out too. And they've been together for 45 years, I think. So I try to explain to her, which is impossible, that he died a year ago. So from 10 to about 11:30, I would say. That doesn't seem like a long amount of time. It seemed longer than that. 10 to 11:30, she's pacing around the apartment. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And usually with this lady, she doesn't walk very much because she has trouble walking. So she usually just goes from chair to bathroom to chair, or chair to bed to chair. She doesn't walk that much. So she's pacing the bathroom, she's pacing the apartment, going back and forth, going, where's my husband? My husband's dead. I need to call my son. So she calls her son, because she remembers the number, I guess. And he goes, Mom, he died a year ago. He died a year ago. And she goes, I don't believe you. And he's like, he died a year ago. So she goes, okay. She relaxes kind of. I don't know, maybe because it's her son, right? So she relaxes a little bit and gets in bed. And then after she gets in bed, 21 minutes, because she fell at 11:51. I remember that number. She starts calling out to me. Now, this lady is like a fucking ninja. You would think that with the lady with the walker would be able to be heard when she's walking. Nah, this bitch is a ninja. So at 11:51, she calls out to me, and I go, yeah, honey, what's wrong? And I walk into the bedroom, and she's sitting on the floor by the bed. So she sat up in bed like she was gonna get up, and then she must have just slid out onto the floor. So I go, great. Now this lady fell. Now I gotta call the nurse. Now I gotta call the aides. I need someone to help me because I can't pick her up myself. We're not allowed with my company to pick her up herself. We have to have help. If they're in home and they fall, we have to call family. We have to call a fire department. We have to call a husband. We cannot pick them up ourselves. So I call the nurse's aides, and I'm like, hey, yo, she fell. I need help. And they come and do an assessment, do her blood pressure, do her temperature, just to make sure she's chill. She's chill. We get her into the bathroom, get her out, and then after that, she starts going crazy about her husband again, pacing the apartment, pacing. Can't get her to sit down, can't get her to chill. So I just let her pace. I follow her around so she doesn't fall, but I just let her pace because at this point I can't calm her down. I call the nurse and I'm like, hey, yo, she's still pacing. Is there like anything we can give her, like melatonin, like anything? And she says there's nothing on the doctor's orders. We can't give her anything at all. There's nothing. Cool. So she's pacing. pacing. And the nurse, I called her again and I'm like, she's still pacing. I can't get her to calm down. She's freaking the fuck out. She's not listening to me at this point. She keeps saying she's got to call her son. It's at this point, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. She can't call her son at 2 o'clock in the morning because she keeps telling me, well, if my husband just died, he'll be up. And I'm like, no, I don't. And at first I was like, no, honey, your husband died a year ago. You can't call your husband, or you can't call your son at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's too late. And she kept, no, he just died. Something doesn't add up. So I'm like, okay. So the nurse comes and talks to her and tells her, hey, I was with you and your husband when he passed. He passed a year ago. Blah, blah, blah. So she comes in, sits her down, and tells her that. And she sits down for like 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes later, she's up again, pacing, screaming about her husband again. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously this lady's not going to sleep tonight. I can't get her to sit down to watch TV. She's just pacing. So I just let her pace at this point. And then eventually, I don't know if something just clicks or if she just gets exhausted, but she sits down on the couch beside me and doesn't say anything. She just sits down. And I go, oh, okay, do you wanna, what's your favorite channel to watch? Let's watch TV. So I turn on TV Land because she likes That's So Raymond. And sadly, of course it's not on. Of course, why would it be on at this time? So I have the TV on and she just sits and chills. It's like something switched. She just was manic and then chill. And as she sat there, she didn't say anything about her husband. But she kept asking me, when are you going to bed? And I'm like, I stay up all night. I don't go to sleep because we're not allowed to sleep on the shift, which makes sense. So I keep telling her, I'm like, oh, I stay up all night. I sleep during the day. I stay up all night. It's fine. It's my usual routine. And she keeps, she'll like lull her head back and then look over at me and she'll be like, when are you going to sleep? Like, I think she was trying to make me go away at this point. Maybe I was just pissing her off to the point where she wanted me gone, but I couldn't leave. But she's like me. She's nice where she doesn't want to be like, hey, yo, fucking leave. But she's just like, I'm annoyed with you. I don't want you here, basically. So around 3 o'clock, I would say maybe it was like 2:50, 3 o'clock. Because she's like sitting there with her head lulled back, like she's falling asleep. So I'm like, do you want to go lay down in bed? She says, yeah. So I get her in bed and she's quiet, completely dead quiet. It's like she fell asleep. So I sit down and I'm playing on my computer, I'm editing, and like 15 minutes later, I didn't hear her at all. That's the bad part. I hear a slam up against the wall, and then I hear, and I'm like, oh God, what just fucking happened? So I get up, and I go into the room, and this bitch walked across her room, which is really far, without a walker. This bitch can walk without a walker. Listen, she can walk without a walker. She walked without a walker, hit the door, well, didn't hit the door, but she got to the bathroom door where she has to open it to go into the bathroom, and she must have tripped and fell or something because she was sitting behind the bathroom door, like she grabbed it, lost her balance, and brought the door with her, maybe. I don't know. I didn't see it, of course. So now she's on the floor again. And if you know anything about nursing, it's really, really bad when a client hits the floor once. This bitch hit the floor twice in the same night. Same night. I think 4 hours difference. Not even. Because the first one was at 1:51 and I think the second one was at 3:15 or something roughly like that. So I call the nurse aide again because I'm like, well, I can't pick her up. And she comes in and she goes, oh, she fell again. And I'm like, yeah, didn't hear her. Snuck past me. She's like, well, this is bad. This is really, really bad. And I'm like, yeah, lady, no shit. Like, she fell twice. The first time I don't think she fell. I think she slipped out of her bed. Like, she sat on the edge of her bed too far and then slipped out. I don't think she fell. But this one, she fell. Like, she fell. So the lady calls her nurse's aides, does all the tests while she's on the ground, picks her up, takes her to the bathroom, because that's why she got up in the first place, and then says, well, because she fell twice in one night, we have to do neuro testing, which I've never heard before. Which means she has to come and do her blood pressure every 15 minutes for the first hour, and for the second hour every 30 minutes. So this lady keeps coming in, and like after she went to the bathroom, we got her in bed, I start to walk her in front of her bed because it has bells. So even if she gets up to like sit up, she kicks it. So she has to like, so she kicks the walker so the bells jingle so I will hear her. And like every 15 minutes she comes and does blood pressure and does her temperature, checks her eyes, makes sure she's good. She's all good. She's fine. And then by the time the 2 hours was over, oh no, then it would have been 5 o'clock in the morning that she fell in. Okay. I wrote it down all in the book because I knew, like, time for me, like, fucks up in my head, so I wouldn't remember. But I did write it in the book after it happened, so I would remember. So the second time she fell was roughly around, like, I would say 4:30 then, because the 2 hours started at 5. And I left at 7, so the last time she came in was 7, and as I was leaving, she came in to check her. Okay. But, like, the whole thing was my first nursing job ever. I was an STNA. I worked at a nursing home. I cannot remember the name of the nursing home. And the reason I got fired from that job was because there was an old lady who always fell. She always fought us. She always fell. And I must have pissed off the nurse or something, or I pissed off the lady, because the lady that was the nurse that night, I don't think she liked me in general. And I think that's why I got fired so quickly. Or I just made, like, enemies with the wrong person, I guess. So the client fell, and I'm like, she didn't even fall. I was transferring her, meaning like I had her on my arms and I was trying to get her into her wheelchair. So I picked her up underneath her arms and was like trying to twist her to get her in the wheelchair. And she was fighting me and I couldn't get her. So I couldn't get her back on the bed, but I couldn't get her in the wheelchair. So I lightly set her down on the ground, opened the door to her room, and I said, hey, I need help in here. Literally 5 seconds later, the nurse comes in. Oh, she fell. You're fired. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Can I please, like, tell my story of what happened? Because that's not what happened. So I get kicked off the shift. So she says, go home. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. I want to talk to somebody. She says, well, because it was a midnight, or it was like late. It was like between midnight and afternoon shift. I don't remember specifically what time, but I do remember it was dark. So I come in the next day and I talk to the lady who does the hiring and the firing, and I talked to her and I'm like, well, I didn't drop her. I was transferring her over and I put her on the ground because I couldn't get her to the wheelchair. And she says, you're an aide. She's a nurse. I have to listen to my nurse. And my nurse said you dropped her. And I'm like, I didn't drop her. Watch the footage back. I didn't drop her. I swear to God, I didn't drop her. I put her gently on the ground because I couldn't get her in the chair. And I couldn't call for help because nobody was there. Then nobody was listening. So ever since that happened, I'm terrified of when people hit the ground, because literally I lost my job because I set a person down on the ground and like this lady hit the ground twice, I thought my job was gone. Yeah, that is my story time. This is going to be a separate video because this was a 20-minute rant. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for listening to me rant for 20 minutes.